Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Mandatory Social Interaction Show. My name is Ben, and I did not look up an adjective for Tim today, so I'm just going to say stretchy. I'm joined by my stretchy co-host, Tim. Hi, Tim.
I am stretchy. Hi, Ben. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. This is going to be a little bit more of a low-key episode, as you probably saw from the title card or the YouTube description. It's just we're just going to be chatting for a little bit today. We've both had pretty rough month, really, thinking about it. And
we have pretty rough weeks in general.
Yeah, and I think getting closer to the holidays for both of us is actually pretty difficult.
It is. It's never a super pleasant time of the year to be in IT, especially because there's a lot, especially working in the industries that we work in. There's a lot of year-end stuff and things like that roll into finances and things like that for our respective companies, and it always makes for a bit of crunch time in a lot of ways. Especially with like code freezes and things like that at the end of the year, and
my code freeze starts on Monday, so it's just gotta get on.
Wow.
Well, yeah, for Black Friday we need to get our code freeze in because we do a lot of transactions at the bank, and then for Christmas, obviously, there's a lot of more transactions. So we actually have a week code freeze next week, and then after that, then it's like most of December. But getting like Tim and I actually talked a little bit this morning about a couple things, and we just kind of both decided that doing just kind of a chat would be a lot of fun and just kind of something different, because we've both been running into the same problem when it comes to stagnation lately, when it comes to like the YouTube channels and streaming and stuff like that. We've both actually been looking at our numbers, and it's like we both seem to be losing YouTube subs, and I don't know if that's due to like YouTube coming through and just like banning a bunch of bots or stuff like that. But it's just like, we had a bit of a conversation this morning about, just how really those numbers don't matter as much. And
right. And I think it's important before we kind of delve into this that it's not our goal to complain or bitch about our numbers being too low or whatever, because as content creators, our main joy is in creating content that we're proud of. And I think that's the biggest thing to take away from this is before we even get into it is just I'll just say, as a content creator, your goal should be not numbers, which we'll get into, but focus on making content that you're proud of. But we can kind of loop around to that. But I just wanted to make sure that it's clear that we're not going to spend the next 15 to 30 minutes or whatever just whining about not having enough numbers or whatever. But my problem is that I had I've been kind of watching my own numbers in terms of YouTube and Twitch and things like that, and I've noticed that there's not been as much growth as I would like to see personally, as I've seen some really like amazing months of huge growth in both respective platforms, and Beam is included in that. But at the moment, I don't want to go off on Beam because that's actually that's a frustration point for me. So, but a lot of it comes down to I think that there's just a lot of like uncertainty from viewers right now. Like there's a lot of like holidays coming up, and people are like they're absorbed into work and family stuff much more than normal around this time of year. I think YouTube's been doing a lot of cleanups of bots and such, so there's a lot of sub drops. Like I lost, from my perspective, I have a little under 100 subs on my YouTube channel, and I lost I think 4 in a day, which that translates to more than 5% of my total viewership. And any large channel, that would be like the earth is falling out of the sky panic. That's a lot of that would be a big number if you had like 1,000 subs. That's a good
50,
chunk of people. Yeah, it's 50 people, and that would be pretty big. That'd be a substantial bite out of your numbers. And so I kind of was feeling a little discouraged because I've been kind of revamping the way that I do my content delivery schedule, and it's very easy to view any change, perceive any change of your content as a failure if you immediately start losing like subscribers or viewers or that sort of thing.
Yeah.
When in reality, it might just be coincidental.
Yeah, and it's like completely reasonable to get disheartened by that, but it's like you shouldn't feel defeated. And I think that's kind of how you were feeling this morning when we were talking, where it's just like everything's going to hell and I don't know how to fix it. And it's just it's very easy to get into that kind of like, I'm out of control. Like you don't have control over what you're doing anymore. Things are just kind of falling apart. It's I think that
yeah, and I think that's kind of where I was this morning and last night. Mainly because there was a series of events last night that were pretty minor things, but kind of compounded an overall feeling I've had over the last few weeks, 3-4 weeks, about my content, and it's been hard to not let that let a minor trigger kind of pull the whole mountain down around me, if that makes sense. Like
no, absolutely.
Yeah, so I just kind of my brain started to associate, and I mean it's all a me problem because honestly, people unsubbing could be any number of things. I mean, people just don't like that I'm releasing longer content, or YouTube banned a bunch of bots, or I mean, there's a bajillion reasons that can be the cause of any number of things, and associating that with your content solely and with your own performance is actually more dangerous to your own mental well-being than just looking at it from the it's external factors, it's out of my control. And then and it raises the questions, well, how much of this is in my control, how much of this is out of my control? Like how do you even cope with that sort of thing when because you're gonna have down months, you're gonna have down days, you're gonna have down, you're gonna have
hopefully
down
not
years
down years.
But it can happen, and they won't be quite, I mean, if they're catastrophic, then you go back to the drawing board and try to figure out what's going on. But they happen, and it's that's where my big issue I think comes in. And that's when I reached out to you and I was just like, I feel like the whole boat is, the whole house is burning down around my ears. And you were like, well, it's really not that bad. And you kind of injected a little bit of sense into kind of what I was thinking, which I appreciate, by the way.
Oh no, of course.
And I was, it's easy to doubt yourself when you put a lot of weight on your own content creation, because I, as a content creator, don't have a lot of skills. Like, you have people like you and my wife and like Levy and Shaka, people who just have these super gifts. Like Shaka has this amazing gift of just being able to connect with anybody and be chipper and excited and happy and just have this amazing positive energy. You have musical talent, graphical talent. I mean, you've got the whole package. Levy's the same way. My wife she's a great artist, and but for me, and again, I'm not like saying it to be down on myself, but you have to kind of realize what your limitations are and where your skill sets lie. My skill set lies in more of a physical thing. It's like technology and the knowledge of how technology interacts and works, and I have a pretty good way of connecting with people overall, but my biggest weakness is in that whole content creation category, which is like a huge barricade for me to overcome. And so it's very easy for me to get discouraged with that because I've never had artistic talent or ability. And a lot of artists, you can fake a lot of, and I say fake in, a kind of like, not a, like in a technical way, like good editing, through just practicing and getting really good at it and knowing what works for other people and applying that to your own stuff. That tends to work.
Well, that tends to work with every type of art. It's not just video editing. I mean, you can do the same thing with music or drawing or anything else. You can learn the basics and learn what works for people, and then move on from there. I mean, I feel that your technical editing, like your video editing, is just like any other art. It's just, it takes time to cultivate.
Right.
I don't mean to derail your train of thought there.
No. And I mean, but you're exactly right. And that's kind of where I find myself, is that it's a matter of like practicing the craft and really applying it to what you do. And I've only been streaming for a little more than a year, and that's not a very long time. And especially considering some of the people that I compare myself to are people that have been doing this for 5+ years, and that includes other forms of content creation. Like my biggest one is like he's like my streaming idol, more or less. Like he's the rock star to me. And Ray Narvaez Jr. or Brown Man on Twitch.
Nice.
And he's incredible. I watch him and I'm like, he's the aspiration. Like he's my muse, more or less. Like he is the one that I want. If I were to take the shoes of any streamer, he's the one that I relate to the best. He's the one that I would probably stand the best chance of standing the test of time as. And that's kind of the way that I have to look at things, and I have to try to emulate that style as best as I can and turn it into my own. And that's the challenge, right? Is creating a style of your own, because you have to do that in art, you have to do that in music, you have to do that in any artistic craft, any creative field. And that's where my challenge comes in. And I'm kind of like talking in circles here, but I'm just at the point where it's like I'm getting like, I know that I'm getting better, but it's not where I want it to be, and it's not creating the content that I feel draws in the massive numbers. Like I'm actually drawing people in, and people are saying, your stuff's good, I really like your stuff, but I still feel like it's outrageously subpar. And again, that's another artistic thing, right? Like it's never good enough. But
are you from? Sorry, you can finish your thought, then I'll.
No. Go ahead, because I didn't really have.
Okay, are you familiar with that Ira Glass quote?
I'm not.
The gist of it is, it's fairly long, but he said that you're very, very hard on yourself, especially when you start out, because the bar is already set for quality, because you've been experiencing so much art in such a similar way. Like if you've been drawing, or you're just starting out drawing, you see all these drawings from people on like Twitter or something like that, all these webcomics artists. And so the bar is set incredibly high already, and you have to learn to not worry about that bar. You have to set your own bar, because when you start out, you're going to suck. And I mean, I'm not saying that you suck. You've definitely come a very long way in the last year. But it's you have to learn to not be hard on yourself, because it's so easy. And I mean, I'm saying you, but I should really say me, because I'm the same way. But
it's the royal you, right? It just applies to
everyone.
It applies. Yeah. It just applies across the board. And that's a solid point, but to the same point, I feel like you never improve if you're not at least a little hard on yourself.
Oh yeah.
Like, you want to push yourself to the limit of improvement, but you don't want to push yourself to so far beyond that limit that you're defeatist.
Yeah, you don't want to discourage yourself, but you also want to make sure that you're not just being like, well, I made this one thing, it's my first thing, but it's not as good as like Penny Arcade, so I might as well just quit. It's right. So there's definitely a middle ground there, and I think that Ira Glass went on to say that it's just I wish somebody had told me that, because it would have saved me a lot of time. I can't remember the quote. It's very good. It's also fairly long, but it's just knowing that when you start out, you have very set limits, and that you need to kind of work within your limitations and learn beyond that, and just kind of evolve in your own style. And you were talking about style, and that's really interesting, because I actually just released a video on the creative exploration thing about style and how to evolve it. And I talk about that your style is basically just a big old mess of things that you like. Like if you like that one streamer, I'm sure you're starting to make videos and make content that emulates him in some degree.
Right.
Okay. And that just means that you're creating your own style. You're taking things that you like from his channel, and you're like putting your own spin on it. You're putting your own like personal touch on it. And I mean, that's really all your style is. It's just a bunch of stuff that you like.
Right.
And people think that like your own style is something that you have to like consciously evolve and work really hard at. And really, it's just you experience a lot of art, and you take the stuff that you like, and then you just do stuff that you like. You make stuff that you'd like to see in the world, I guess. And I mean, maybe that sounds weird saying, oh, I want to have more Let's Play videos in the world, but you know, you also enjoy making the content. And I mean, that's almost important, if not more important than actually producing and releasing the content. So
yeah. And, well, one of the things that really kind of, aside from talking with you this morning and talking to my wife last night, one of the big things that really helped me kind of get over this, I guess I'll call it my creative hump today, was I heard a song by Watsky, and if you've never heard of Watsky, he's a great artist. He's a rapper, and he's brilliant. Like he writes absolutely amazing lyrics, and there's a song that he has called "Never Let It Die," and it's the whole gist of the song is pretty much don't give up, and even when you know everything's crashing down, you're gonna, well, pretty much here's the line, right? If you love what you're doing, you've already succeeded, but there's gonna be bleeding when another one bites that dust. So get ready to beat it, because it might be us. And I'm telling them that the journey is oh so slow, and we want to say no, 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 because to make it is difficult, but we go, go, go. Yeah. And that right there, I mean, that whole song is freaking awesome. It's a great song, and he has a lot of really like good uplifting songs that you can listen to that are like, don't give up, keep doing it, because the road sucks, but there's not much you can really do about it, and you just gotta kind of push through it and do it.
And that keep doing it thing is really the most important line out of there, and like just perseverance, because just about every person I've talked to or heard from that like started with YouTube and streaming and stuff, like I think Star did like a little thing. Star's a YouTuber that usually does like TF2 content. But he talked about he just made 2 videos a day and he posted them, and he just kept doing it until people started like paying attention. And I think he spent like 2 years with like 4 fans or something like that. And now I think he's one of the larger Let's Players on the internet or on YouTube. And it's just like everybody starts somewhere. And I think most people quit because they just don't get that engagement, and that engagement isn't the reason why you should be making stuff. Like it's the same thing. It's like people like make a song trying to be famous, and it's like, no, you don't make a song with the intent to be famous. You make a song because you have to express yourself somehow.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest my biggest stumbling block is I had to today especially, and I have to do this a lot, is I have to say, why am I doing this? Like what is, and it's not a why am I doing this in the I'm despairing, I'm going to give up. It's the legitimate question, like what am I doing making content, and why? Like, am I doing it because I love it? Am I doing it because I want to get popular, and I want to like, and that's where I've got to like really kind of zero in and assess, am I like, if you're doing this to be popular and famous, stop, because that's not why you should do stuff. You should do stuff because you love doing it.
Yeah.
And one of the big things about when I stream, and part of the reason I stream is for the engagement and interaction with people. And that part is what actually where I shine, because at work we had to do this dumb strength finder assessment thing. If you've never done this, what it is it's a book that you read, and then there's a work meeting where they go through and they tell you what the book is about and help you kind of like determine it, and then you take a test. And this test tells you what your strengths are. And one of my strengths that it found was called woo, winning over others. And that strength is it's so me. Like, it's one of the big things, because I love talking to people, and I love engaging with people, and I love discussing with people, and I love seeing other sides of arguments, and I love seeing somebody kind of form their own opinion around facts that you've given, or that they've given, or that someone else, a third party, has given. And that's like one of my strengths. And so a big part of why I do what I do is because I get that engagement. And so part of my problem is that my stream, which has finally gotten to the point of lots of engagement from my amazing community that has built up around Insert Coin Theater, which I absolutely adore, has quieted down a bit. And it's not through any fault of anything I've done, and from what I can tell, it's through no fault of really anything other than circumstance. I mean, a lot of the people that are regulars just aren't around right now for their own reasons. They're going through stuff. You know, people have their own lives, and that's one of the hard things to realize is that it's not you. It's probably something going on in their own lives.
Yeah.
And so without that interaction, it's hard for me. But when I do have that interaction, my stream is improved vastly because my mood goes up, and I'm more excited because I love talking with people and connecting with people.
Yeah, and like one of the things that I mentioned today was just the fact that you actually have regulars. And like, I mean, there are a lot of streamers out there that would dream of having regulars and people that they can talk to on a regular basis while they, you know, play games. And I think that one of the things that you can do if you are just worried about, you know, having dead space when it comes to like interaction with the chat is just work on your Let's Play chops and just like work on telling a story and like narrating something, like your thought process while you're doing something, instead of just being like, oh damn, he killed me again, you know, that kind of stuff. And that's so hard. That's something that I really want to work on next year as well. And if we're going to start talking about next year, maybe this is a good segue into tomorrow's episode that we're going to talk about, because we're going to talk about the future of the MSIS show, which is going to stick around, of course, but we're going to talk about the future of that and the future of our respective channels, and just kind of work with that for a little bit. So do you have anything else you wanted to say, Tim, or can we wrap this one up?
Well, I think my biggest takeaway, because I think I was kind of having a bit of a crisis of faith, so to speak.
Oh, and that totally happens.
Is perseverance is everything, and I have to. It's going to be my mantra for the next couple of weeks to a couple of months that yes, things can be slow and things can dip, but it's just a matter of staying the course and not panicking. That's the hard part.
Yeah.
And just don't let it ruin your content creation, because if you have a vision for the way you want to deliver things, don't let anything damage that vision, because it's your craft and your art, and you have to deliver it the way that you want to.
Yep. Very well put. Yeah, I think that's it's just important to look at things like from a high level view. Don't look at it from day to day. Look at it from like month to month. And that was one thing I've been doing with my Patreon, where it's just like, I said I was going to do this for 6 months and see how it turns out, and then I'm going to kind of change it from there. So, you know, it's just like looking at things from a very large perspective is so important, because
looking at it from the macro instead of the micro.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, I think that'll do it for this episode.
Hey, I'm the one that brought it in. Right. So that'll do it for this episode.
Tim's fighting words, Ben Burns.
So where can we find you online, Tim?
You can find me on Twitch and Beam, which and I'll probably go into a little bit about Beam next episode, I think, if we get time.
Oh yeah,
we'll have time. But you can find me on twitch.tv/ or beam.pro/insertcointheater. You can find me on Twitter at insertcointim, and you can find me on the web at insertcointheater.com. And then, of course, the old YouTube, which, if you're not watching on mine, but you're watching on Ben Burns' YouTube, I appreciate that. And hi to Ben Burns' audience, because you guys are cool. I get a chance to interact with you every once in a while. And anyways, you can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/insertcointheater.com. That's insertcointheater.com. What about you, Ben? Where can they find you?
Yeah, you guys can find me online at Twitch, Twitter, Patreon, and YouTube at Ben_Burns. That's BURNES. I do all sorts of shit. That's I think that's the condensed version of it now.
I think it's very apt though. Like, it fits so perfectly, right?
Yeah, there have been a lot of places where it's just like my bio, because you're limited to like 100 characters or something. It's just like, hi, I'm Ben and I make things. And you know, there's that kind of fits. I don't know.
It does. It's good stuff.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll be back tomorrow. This is the Saturday episode, and then we'll be back on Sunday. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the future of our respective channels and just kind of ruminate on things a little bit more. This has been actually a lot of fun. So,
ruminate's a good word.
Yeah. So anyway.
All right, man.
See you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.